Tales from my D&D campaign.
Previously.
Why do I have to sit down here right at the point?
I remember being forced to sit down there when I was courting Ivana. You would not believe how intimidating it is.
Yes, I would.
High Priest Matsomi requires your presence at the Basilica. You'd better be back in time for the Duke's spring ball, in a week and a half. Not too far from the house, they spot a woman off to the side.
I am a fox. I came to warn you. Do not trust the Rakshasas. They seek to bend everyone and everything to do their bidding. Oh, I almost forgot. When you go to the Feywild, please give this to the tall one.
What tall one?
You'll know when you see him.
But we aren't going to the Feywild.
Of course not. Farewell.
Why is everything so confusing?
Oh, good. I thought it was just me. But before long, they're standing in front of High Priest Matsomi in the Basilica. We have lost contact with the village of Good Place in Midgard.
Really? Good Place? They are so screwed.
Angel finally finds one house full of corpses, including a man who Black identifies as one of Jonason's agents.
Corpsplosion!
Uh-oh. Zombies. A translucent blob full of skulls glides out of an alleyway and shoots two stretchy tendrils of goo up at Draven. Gah! What the hell? And then two hooded figures come down the street. Full strength. Fine. And the second guy moves in to attack, cleaving through a bunch of minions with his bare hands, if martial arts counts as bare hands. Wait, so that's not another necromancer? That was the divine version of bull strength. Judging by his movements, the henchman is a monk.
Well, you know what they say. The enemy of my enemy.
Black and Angel clear a path so Little One can get over to whack the ooze really hard, and Draven, since he's in danger of being dragged into actual combat, spends a charge from his expensive Orb of Force wand to finish it off, freeing himself from its gooey tendril, by which time the newcomers have fought their way over to them.
Who are you guys?
You could call us undead hunters. And who are you? We represent the Hand of Sirius. We want to know what Baron Woodbridge is up to. Ah, then I'd say we are allies. For now. We still need to find that necromancer. What direction did that tunnel go, Angel?
It seemed like it was heading under the main street, so it might lead to one of the shops we haven't searched yet.
What shops are there? There's the church, general store, tailor, butcher.
I'm thinking the butcher.
Also a tea shop, not to mention all the houses behind the shops. When they reach the butcher storefront, their suspicions are confirmed by another Corpsplosion spell, which hurts everyone but Angel and the monk, but also clears away the last of the nearby zombie minions, though many more are still converging slowly upon them. Inside, they run into 3 of the infused zombies, who slow them down considerably. But the next round, the necromancer ducks around the corner to cast Magic Missile, augmented with evil metamagic, hitting each of them with a small amount of added vile damage. Damage so hideously evil that it can only be healed by magic cast on consecrated ground.
Oh, he is dead. Dead.
Those two tumble past the zombies to engage the necro in the back room, which is, covered in runes and gore. He's not alone back there, but Little One and Angel ignore the other threats, flank and perforate him, dropping the flimsy caster in a single round. Problem solved. Is it just me, or is there something wrong with that view? Out the back window, the sky is dimly illuminated, unlike the street behind them, and where there should be rows of houses, they see only open plains, which seem to be rippling with the lethargic movements of zombies beyond count. Is that the Shadowfell? Perhaps this gruesome mess is a ritual to open a planar portal. That's bad.
Master, help me to crush the unbelievers.
Wait, he was still alive?
Marginally. Bullshit. Suddenly, his broken form is surrounded by a sphere of black energy, and a booming voice answers, "You have served me well, Duncan. Through the might of our Lord, I grant you your reward." There's a tremor in the ground, and parts from all the zombies around them start whizzing into the blackness, including some smashing through the door and window from the Shadowfell. And his torso is now protected by a bone cage within the chest of a 12-foot composite monster.
Yes, yes! I shall not fail you, Baron Deathmoor. All shall wither before you and our king of the other world.
So now he's a hulking brute with damage reduction and a much higher armor class, but he still retains his intelligence, so to speak. Fortunately, he still only gets one action per round, so he can't both cast a spell and attack using his new strength. This means that although some of the tough zombies are still fighting, mostly the necromancer gets wailed on by the heroes and is soon forced to retreat through the back door into the Shadowfell. If the portal is being created by this unholy shrine, we can probably close it by destroying the bloody runes.
We can't let this guy get away. Hell no, I'm going after him. How close are all those undead?
They were not guarding the portal. They look like they were just milling around, so they are spread out and most are not very close. However, now that the necromonster has crossed over, they are definitely slowly swarming in this direction. There are less than a dozen in range to charge this turn, but in about 2 rounds there will be dozens more, and while it mostly looks like zombie minions, there might be some worse things mixed in.
The last thing you want to do is to be stranded in the Shadowfell.
He's a necromancer. He has to go down.
Damn right.
So they pass through the door, traversing into another dimension in pursuit, and Angel follows.
Somebody's got to cover your ass.
So Angel gets in range to attack the monster. His new undead body is immune to crits and sneak attack, but from there, her spike chain and combat reflexes could kill zombies as they approached, preventing them from surrounding for swarm damage. Little One took an attack of opportunity from the Hulk's reach as he charged, but he and Black damaged it badly. On his turn, the Necromancer casts Corpsplosion using a bunch of zombies that weren't quite in melee range, the negative energy hitting the 2 large warriors and also healing him, but Draven reinforced his growing reputation by kill-stealing him with an augmented orb of force through the window. As more undead advanced, they started spotting ghouls and other variants mixed in, but the heroes were already retreating back to the butcher's shop, and as soon as they're through, they clear the store and Draven blows a couple charges from his cheapo wand or fireball, eliciting a satisfying energy pulse as the portal collapsed.
Well, that was a job well done.
Still gotta clear these walkers.
What's their deal anyway?
This guy's a priest of Anku. Haven't met one of them in a while. We still need to figure out if we can trust them.
I'm guessing yes, since one's sitting across the table from us.
Yes, Zahir was a new player, joining the group for the summer. He comes from a little-known village on the desert side of the Angor Mountains, technically part of Vistria, but so hard to reach that they were essentially self-ruled. When the village was finally found and wiped out by orcs, he miraculously escaped, and has since become a priest of Anku. If you don't remember us having a god called Anku, that's because there isn't one. See, when I made the setting document, I said priests can pick any domains and worship any god they want, or worship and get spells from a spirit, because the distinction between spirits and true gods is a little blurry. A small local spirit with a powerful connection to a single natural feature might be able to grant spells, if only to a single champion. But there are also spirits like Anku who have embraced an important celestial role, becoming what you might call a demigod. Our world doesn't have a god of death. Death is a part of the universe. It happens on its own, as each soul transitions to wherever it belongs. Occasionally, though, some souls refuse to leave due to some scarring tragedy or insane sense of duty, becoming ghosts or some junk. Others may be knocked off course or trapped by spirits, by accident or on purpose. Anku and his followers are the shepherds who seek out such lost souls to set them on the right path. They also hunt down those who try to twist or break the rules of death, to create undead or to live beyond their allotted span. Elves are fine, apparently. If they are killed, they die, and if not, they live. And that seems to be the natural order. But nearly all other things have a maximum lifespan, and Anku opposes any attempts to live beyond that through wishes, body stealing, or any kind of necromancy. Are priests of Sirius okay with his religion? Oh yeah, there are some areas of disagreement, but both gods hate undead, and have a thing for tracking down those who evade justice. It's just Anku's version of justice is more about death. So Zahir and his gruff guardian, Mahar, had found their way to Good Place for similar reasons to the party, despite having no ties to the Hand of Sirius. Having accomplished their mission, they agree to stick with the heroes, at least for now, since they all want to head to the capital of Woodbridge to see if they can learn any more about the Baron and his crimes. It's been a long day, so Draven reports back to High Priest Matsomi with a sending spell. Then they rest and head out in the morning. They found the major town of Woodbridge disappointing, though. Not only was it completely deserted, but almost everything not nailed down had been hauled out, so they couldn't even loot the castle.
I guess we won't be bringing him to justice today.
What a surprise.
What a rip-off. Not even a tapestry?
Something's bothering me. The guy who did this was Baron Woodbridge, right?
Yes, practically my family's next-door neighbor.
But that necromancer called out a different name. Was he calling out to Baron Deathmore?
That sounds about right. I couldn't hear over the sound of Angel and I kicking his ass.
Thing is, when I was a kid, my father used to tell me stories about this hero called Rygax, who none of the other children had heard of. Rygax roamed the Shadowfell, opposing and outsmarting the invincible vampire kings and their supernatural lieutenants. But in one story he fought and killed a lieutenant called Baron Deathmore.
And your father, he told you these weird stories?
All the time.
Well, my son has been doing his acolyte research on the Vampire Kings. Since there's nothing going on here, I say we go report back to the Basilica and see if Tobin knows anything about this Deathmore. Sounds like a good idea, if we can tag along. What do you think? We just met them.
But they did help against the zombies.
I think he's still sitting at the table.
Matsomi and Jonasson commend the party for purging Good Place of Undead and collapsing a dangerous portal to the Shadowfell, though the disappearance and likely deaths of an entire barony, some 10,000 people, remains an almost inconceivable disaster, which they will continue to investigate. Afterwards, they meet Tobin down in the Rectory's library to grill him for information. The Shadowfell is one of the 3 planes that make up the world, along with the Feywild and the normal world, which elves and Feyfolk call the Fadelands. Though all 3 planes have very similar geography, the Shadowfell also contains the Underdark, a massive network of tunnels and caverns stretching down for tens or even hundreds of miles, almost half of which is dominated by the Drow. However, even the mighty Drow Republic has virtually no presence on the surface, because this continent, in the Shadowfell, is ruled by the 5 vampire kings. The strength of the kings is not that they are vampires, or at least there have been accounts of other vampires, and there is no comparison. Their power comes from shackling the spirits of the Shadowfell, creating ritual bindings which imprison spirits and harness abilities from them. As such, these beings of titanic power are locked in a constant struggle over massive areas of the Shadowfell, fighting to control the locations of spirit shackles which grant critical abilities to the kings or to their monstrous lieutenants. Each of them commands ancient fortresses and horrors, and endless legions of undead which seem to spring up almost from the cursed earth itself. Nearly all of the land corresponding to Vistria in the Shadowfell falls under the territories of 2 vampire kings, Swain and Cornello, with a little bit around the Verandi border belonging currently to Alyssa, who is clearly female, but I refuse to refer to them as the vampire kings and queen every bloody time. According to some of the rare texts here, Baron Deathmore is historically one of Cornello's most powerful lieutenants. Now, the borders shift over time as the kings vie for powerful spirits, and almost none of our information on the Shadowfell is less than 2 centuries old, but the province of Woodbridge is in an area that is traditionally held by Cornello, who rules most of the northeast. In my father's stories, though, Baron Deathmore was destroyed. Does that mean they were just fairy tales?
Well, I can't speak to that, but I've been working on a hypothesis, supported by a number of old passages, that many, if not all, of these so-called lieutenants, like Deathmore, are more like archetypes resulting from a beneficial combination of spirit powers. When one of them dies, that king renews some rituals and grants those powers to a new individual. So perhaps this is a new Baron Deathmore. All this, combined with their observations and the words of the necromancer, leads them to one apparent, though still very speculative, conclusion. Baron Woodbridge must have made a deal with Cornello to exchange the entire population of his Vistrian province, 10,000 souls, for supernatural power and presumably immortality as some form of intelligent undead. A sickening thought. The party spends some downtime in Vanover, black-healing their cursed vial damage on the hallowed ground of the Basilica of St. Hitomi. While they're in town for a couple days, they get some early news on the government's progress in using the magic artifact spoons, and it's pretty awesome. Each of the spoons had different characteristics, but after a little experimentation, they've arranged multiple shifts to keep the spoons working 24 hours, and they found that they have a capacity of 2,000, 3,000, and 5,000 servings per day, based on each spoon's activation time or the cooldown between uses. The best one was being sent to the capital, Castle, while the other 2 remained in Vanover, as these cities have 2 of the largest concentrations of out-of-work Verandi refugees. And because the various magical foods produced by these artifacts are extremely nutritious, the local authorities are alternating between them and regular rations every 2nd day here, every 3rd day in Castle, all of this meaning that overall,
The magic artifact spoons they've quested after since the very beginning of the story are now helping lift 25,000 people out of borderline malnutrition, which is especially sweet for Draven, himself being a refugee from the conquered nation. Although the circumstances of his life have been completely different from theirs, he has a great deal of empathy for them. But pretty soon they were back at the High Priest's office.
A group of orcs are sneaking into Vistria.
All right. Go on.
It is not uncommon for them to challenge our border forces, which is very dangerous. Orcs kill over 200 soldiers every year, but it is very unusual for them to penetrate deeper into the interior. Logically, our good fighters are on the borders, so if a fight is what they want, there is little reason to sneak further in. But a group of them are doing so right now. One was slain in Redfield, near the border of Forever. Before the battle, a commander asked it some questions, and while it refused to reveal the group's numbers, when asked what it was trying to do, it said, "We's gonna see how close we can get." Unfortunately, something spooked it before they could learn any more. Despite being surrounded by soldiers, with dozens of archers trained on it, the orc killed 8 good men and women before going down.
Get close to what?
This city? Vanover is very well protected, but I do not understand why it would be a more appealing target than our border forts in Angor or Redfield.
Could they be trying to reach Castle? We have not seen a force of more than 8 orcs since the Shatter War, and I doubt 50 orcs could assault the capital, though even a small group could wreak serious harm on the way.
The challenge may be tempting to them, but there are thousands of troops and too many golems.
If they're sneaking around, I bet it's a smaller group.
We sometimes forget. Orcs can move with great stealth, if they so choose. We have many forces already searching for them, both military and the hand, but even large search parties may be too vulnerable to engage them, and the larger our groups, the more easily they can slip through our net.
Don't worry, we'll find those orcs.
Next time on Tales from My D&D Campaign.
I'd love to recruit some orcs to fight the Diluvians. Is there any way I can learn to speak Orcish?
Orcs don't speak Orcish anymore.
Right, I remember. But maybe I could use that, teach it back to them, create a sense of patriotism, an Orcish renaissance. That sounds cool. I'd like to learn Orcish too. It should at least help with their slang.
Well, if you want to speak real Orcish, you'll need a tutor, and the only people who preserve that dead language are the elves.
In that case, you'd better not tell them about the Orcish renaissance.